There was a time on Shogun 2 Total War where I almost exclusively played quick battles or ranked battles in match made, and I finally got tired of it because I feel like quick battles and ladder battles bring out the worst in people in Total War. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. People will ulta for you, they will drop hack you, they will cheese you super hard, spam, do anything they can to win, and it gets really obnoxious. And so there was a time, and this was years ago, where I just said, this sucks, man. Like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, I'm just getting mad after all these games that I'm winning. People just will alt F4 and I don't get my win. I'm caring about this number on the leaderboards that doesn't matter because leaderboards on Total War have never worked properly whatsoever, and this is just pointless. So I stopped playing quick battles. That's carried over to Warhammer as well. I've only played 30 quick battles on Total War Warhammer since the game came out, but at the same time, it is very rewarding to go into a ranked battle and defeat your opponent and just get a good battle in general. That doesn't always happen in Battle List. I feel like the level of skill in ranked battles is certainly better than it is in unranked or in Battle List. So last night decided to hop in to a Bretonnia versus Greenskins game, and so here we are playing against Round Disc. I'm not sure who that is, that's just his name. So I am playing as Bretonnia, King Louen Leoncoeur, and 2 Paladins on Pegasus Knights as my Air Force. The Bretonnian Air Force Goon Squad is hard to deal with. I'm sure you guys know all about that. No Pegasus Knights, but don't really need it. So much killing power in between these 3 units. And then for the rest of my army, I've got, let's see here, main line, Spearmen at Arms, Men at Arms, Pole Arms, and I've got 4 Knights of the Realm, 3 of them out on this flank, and 1 in the back just to protect my peasant bowmen. Across the way here, my opponent has brought a army that you would expect would be pretty good at countering what Bretonnia can field. He knows what they're capable of. Bretonnia, not a one-dimensional faction, but it is easy to know what they're going to be fielding. Usually Louen Leoncoeur, usually Paladins on Pegasus, and usually some bowmen and spears or polearms. So Orc Boys up front, just a couple of those meat shields, and then the important part of his army, the Orc Big Guns. They have the bigger and odd. That means that they have a bonus versus large. In their weapon strength here, we can take a look. It's 12 armor piercing damage and 8 bonus versus large. So they're not a spear equipped unit, but they will punish cavalry if you try to charge into them. Some goblin archers in the back, and some goblin big bosses on wolves. And I'll talk about those guys in a second. Very annoying little unit there. Some black orcs in the back for some killing power, and the orc boar boy big guns who have armor piercing and they have a bonus versus large. These will be very scary to deal with for my Knights of the Realm because Knights of the Realm don't have the armor piercing trait while the Orc Boar Boy Big Guns do, and they also have the bonus versus large. So he should be able to win the cav fight if I'm not careful. At least 1-on-1, I would expect a Orc Boar Boy Big Gun to be a Knight of the Realm just because they have the armor piercing trait and because they have that bonus versus large. So game plan here. What are we going to try to do? Well, first off, let's talk about the point of these big bosses. I've seen this a lot with greenskin builds recently, usually on spiders. I think the spiders give poison attacks. I'm not 100% sure about that. But the reason you bring Goblin Big Bosses is you can stick them with a potion of foolhardiness and a potion of toughness or healing potion and basically send them in to block a charge. And as soon as you do that, you completely mitigate the charge bonus of whatever is going in, so that you can stop the charge of a Knight of the Realm and then counter charge with an Orc Boar Boy Big Gun and completely destroy my Knight of the Realm unit. And they're not going to be taking that much damage, and if they get in a bad situation, you pop the potion of toughness, get that HP back, you're back at full HP, and you're no worse off for the wear. So that is usually why people bring Goblin Big Bosses, and they can gang up on hero characters and lord characters as well. So my opponent has definitely brought a good army to deal with Bretonnia, especially those Orc Big Guns. He's got 4 of those. Those will be a nuisance to deal with. So I'm just kind of measuring what he's brought so far, thinking about how I want to handle this. And the first thing I'm going to do is just set up, kind of spread out a bit, and allow my peasant bowmen to start firing into those Orc Boys. Now, of course, I want to get rid of these Orc Big Guns first, but the Orc Boys are going to be the first into range. So I'll shoot at them a couple of times, just do some HP damage, maybe get their leadership down a bit, and then as soon as the orc big guns close into range, then I will definitely start targeting those, because they will be the biggest threat to my flying air force and to my cavalry. So yeah, gonna start targeting the orc big guns now, and with 2 peasant bowmen shooting into them, they should drop very quickly. I do love the peasant bowmen in this game. Very good when you focus fire, can do a lot of damage. You can see this orc boy is already about 2/3 strength. That big gun is already down to half strength. They do not have shields, so they can take a lot of damage to skirmish fire, and I'm just going to do as much damage to them as I can, and then charge in with the Knights of the Realm up front into these orc boys. Not too worried about charging into them because they do not have a bonus first large. So as soon as I do that, I'm going to pull out and maybe cycle charge again. Now Louen and the Paladins will be looking for a target to go for, maybe snipe the general if I can, but Grimgor is going to be well protected in the back and always be rolling with his big bosses. So I'm going to actually just go for the Goblin Archers here. I think maybe do a little bit of damage to them. I did see Grimgor right here kind of isolated a bit, but I'm not sure I want to go for that because as soon as I land, the big guns could close in on them. Paladin going to charge in the back of the orc boys, and Louen is going to charge in the back of these big guns, and that will not be an issue for me whatsoever. I will be able to route this unit very quickly, but my units over here, the Spearmen and Arms, are going to take a lot of losses as you'd expect. I'm not going to be able to deal too well with this many Greenskin units backed up by Grimgor, and my Spearmen will rout pretty quickly. Now I do have my Knights of the Realm over on this side kind of circling. I could go for a rear charge in here, and I think I'm going to do that with this Knights of the Realm unit. I could get a rear charge into these Orc Boar Boy big guns. They are going to be charging into the back of their own men. Of course, not the best use. And I do have some Knights of the Realm in there that charged up the center. So if I can route this block right here, that would allow my Knights of the Realm to close into the rear, cause a ton of havoc in the back lines. But we'll see. I mean, this is probably going to waver pretty soon here. The Spearmen and Arms are in good shape, but this one is not. And my Knights of the Realm are at half strength as well. I am definitely losing my right flank. You can see Grimgor and the big guns have broken through over on that side. And I'm just going to have to kind of reevaluate here. So I've sent in Louen to help reinforce. I'm going to be buffing up my dudes over on this side. And the Paladin is starting to get some pot shots from the Goblin Archers. Need to get him under control. Don't want him to be taking too much fire there. Now Knights of the Realm. We're going to charge into the Goblin Archers to prevent them from firing. But they are going to get tied up just a bit. And get them under control. And a good charge. Well, actually not really a good charge. But they are going to go into the Goblin Archers and tie them down. Louen is in a bit of a precarious position here. Or he was. Grimgor's going to charge in. I thought that was a Orc Boar Boy. That was actually Knights of the Realm. So not really that precarious. But Grimgor and Louen are going to start 1v1ing. And we'll see how that develops. Did manage to rout these Boar Boy big guns in the back. And did win over on my left flank. But on his left flank, he is doing very well. And I have left my Peasant Bowmen unsupported in the back now. I committed one of my Spearman units I had to help tie down the right side. And that's going to allow his Goblin Wolf Riders to come in from the rear and start causing a lot of havoc. So I'll need to get a Paladin or something in the back lines to tie all this stuff down. Knights of the Realm could do that as well. And now, Louen has taken a bunch of damage. Kind of missed it there, but the Goblin Big Bosses and Grimgor teamed up on him and almost took him down. And it is a godsend, that regen that he has. If I didn't have the Blessings of the Lady and the regen, I would be in serious trouble. But I'm going to be able to pull him out, let him get some regen going, and hopefully get him back into the fight. But now things are getting a little bit precarious. Balance bar shifting in the Greenskins' favor for sure. Paladin going in to help reinforce over on this side. And then the back, Knights of the Realm and Boar Boy Big Guns going at it in melee combat. Expect the Boar Boys to win over on this side. And my Peasant Bowmen didn't take too much damage. Kept 2 of them at full strength. One of them is at half strength and will probably die to this Goblin Wolf Rider. But now, lots of Black Orcs and the big bosses are in melee. These Knights of the Realm are going to fall. A bit of friendly fire coming in as well. But I am tying down this blob, shooting them to pieces a bit. And I just have to let Louen circle. I cannot commit him. A couple shots from the Goblin Big Bosses or Grimgor at this point would kill him. But I can help chase off these Goblin Wolf Riders. Louen does cause terror on Bakey's the Hippogriff, so should be able to rout those guys. In the back, Knights of the Realm charging in, getting rid of these Goblin Archers. And battle is very spread out. So you can see, I think Greenskins have an advantage at this point. But I do have my skirmishers in good shape. I am getting some good shots into the back of the Black Orcs, who have no way of closing me down. So this is going to be very important. Doing as much HP damage to these Black Orcs as possible. This is a scary late game unit. Definitely don't want that to be full strength when it all is said and done. These Knights of the Realm and these Spearmen are going to get butchered. I think that rear charge from the big guns is going to put the hurt on them. And I still cannot commit Louen. I was chasing off those Goblin Wolf Riders in the back. So now, Greenskins are going to kind of just coalesce into one big force in the center here. And my guys are just going to spread out, shooting off some Goblin Wolf Riders in the back as well. Getting rid of those really annoying troops. And a lot of my guys have routed and are starting to come back, but they're all really beaten up. Spearmen at arms, 24 men in the unit. Knights of the Realm, 13. All very low HP. So I'm going to pull everything out that I can and reform and go back in for a final engagement. Running a little bit low on ammunition, but the most important thing here is I have Louen and I have the 2 Paladins. This is going to be so important in the late game. So much mobility, so much charge damage. You can fly in and kill pretty much any unit you want if the Greenskins player gets a little bit too spread out. He's going to want to stay in a big ball of death at this point. Doesn't want to let Grimgor get isolated or the Goblin Big Bosses get isolated, because that could be very bad news. Still shooting with the Peasant Bowmen. Up to 79 kills and 74. They've done work this game. See what the Goblin Archers have done. 39 and 7 and 9. So they have not made as big of an impact. But Peasant Bowmen are better archer units anyway. So just giving Louen a little bit of time to heal. Don't want to cheese. I don't like the Bretonnian cheese where you kind of run around and let Louen regen to full. I think that's not too much fun to win that way. I have seen some people do that, where you just kind of run away forever. And now the Goblin Big Boss is going to come in and tie down one of my Peasant Bowmen. This is going to be the first big mistake of the game for the Greenskin player. He's going to start sending his heroes, kind of letting them get isolated. And now 2 Paladins engaging this Goblin Big Boss. No chance for him to win that. And with Louen coming in to reinforce as well, he's going to run scared. And I don't blame him. That is a lot of power. And he sends in another Goblin Big Boss. And I don't know why. Like, he should keep Grimgor and all the Goblin Big Bosses together. That's where they're really dangerous. Anytime I fly in, if he's got 4 hero characters together, that is scary to deal with. But now he just sent in 2 by themselves. They got isolated. And now this one is probably going to shatter. 39 HP. Useless at this point. Good charge up the center from the Knights of the Realm into the big guns. Going to pull out a single charge again. And now another Goblin Big Boss. Kind of fighting by himself. Where's Grimgor? In the back. Not really doing anything. And the terror from Baykeys is going to start just chain routing all of these Goblin Big Bosses who can do quite a bit of damage when they're backed up by Grimgor. And now Grimgor is isolated and there's nothing he can do. He got really flustered here in the endgame. Had a relatively commanding lead. It wasn't... Okay, commanding might be a bit of a stretch, but he was winning. He was definitely winning. And instead of keeping all of his heroes together where they could do so much damage, you saw how much damage Louen took when he went in 1v4 against those guys. Instead, he kind of lets them all get isolated and they just start routing one by one. And now 2 Paladins smacking him in the face. Louen in the back lines chasing off the Goblin Archers. Terror going to set in and mass rout. And I am going to take the battlefield. So, really he just got flustered at the end there. I think he had that if he played it correctly. He still had the bonus for his large units. He still had 4 hero characters that were all relatively decent HP. And he kind of threw away his advantage there. You saw how low Louen got, even at the end there when he was charging into Grimgor by himself. Like, he almost died. Imagine if he had 3 Goblin Big Bosses backing him up. Would have been a different battle, I think. But that was an interesting one. He brought a really good counter army to me. He brought exactly what you would expect to bring against Bretonnia, I think. There's not too much I would change with this army. He has Goblin Wolf Riders to tie down archers and kill them. He has Boarboy Big Guns to deal with Knights of the Realm. He's got regular archer units to trade some fire with my Peasant Bowmen. And they can do well against Spearmen at Arms because they're not particularly heavily armored. And he has meat shields up front to block charges. And the Goblin Big Bosses are just a very cheap, very high utility unit that can do a lot of stuff for you. They can kill characters, they can tie down enemy archers, they can block charges. And I'm assuming he brought potions on them because that's what you're supposed to do, but maybe he didn't. I didn't see him use them in that game, but I wasn't really paying that close attention. Grimgor did nothing. Not a great legendary lord, to be honest. But in terms of melee lords, he's a good one. And you want to bring melee lords against Bretonnia because if you put anything in the air, if you put Azhag on Skull Muncha or a regular Wyvern, Orc Warboss on a Wyvern, you're going to get butchered. They're like never, and I've seen it happen so many times. Just understand, if you're playing Bretonnia and you're the Greenskins, you cannot bring a flying lord or you're going to die. It's just going to be a really bad day for you. You're not going to win the battle. There are a couple factions that can deal with Bretonnia in the air, maybe, if you focus heavily on it. Chaos might be able to do a little bit better in the air against them in the next patch because they're going to be getting Feral Manticores to kind of help with their Air Force a bit. But really, there are not many factions that can go toe-to-toe with Bretonnia in the air, if any. So, yeah, I would avoid that if you can. Maybe a Lord General on a Griffin and an Amber Wizard on Pegasus Knight and a Griffin. Summoning a Manticore for the Empire could deal it. But, yeah, just avoid it if you can. He did it right here. Brought Grimgor, but Grimgor did nothing. Just kind of mismicroed his heroes and lords, and if he hadn't done that, I think he would have won. Hope you guys enjoyed that battle. And I'll be bringing you some more content very soon. See you guys later.